Ripley, our show within a show, Rant is over to you first of all with MoonSwatch is not that cheap. Go.
Yeah, I don't know how that became like celebrated as like the bar for cheap watches. Maybe it was because we were all stuck inside for the pandemic and weren't going out, or I don't, but my column is actually affordable, where we highlight, or I choose to highlight a cool affordable watch. And there are so many watches that are less than a MoonSwatch and made from like real metal and sapphire and, you know, good materials and stuff. And it's not like these are terribly expensive, but like, and there was definitely the novelty and the moment and all of that. But when you really start thinking about these within the context of like what affordable watches are, this is not them.
And we have daylight saving, and then, you know, we have people that really like their watches to be 20 minutes ahead or behind. I realized, like, what's the point?
There's a philosophical way to start the show. Is the root cause of all the world's current ills because we all decided we wanted to represent we don't want to do different things with time. We wanted to have daylight savings. We wanted to have a half-hour time zone. We wanted to set our watches slightly differently. We wanted to wear watches that didn't tell the time at all. We wanted not to actually set the watch. We wanted to use it as jewelry. That's just where civilization started to implode in itself. And here we are.
If you can't agree on something as simple as time, I think everything else is going to be a bit of an uphill battle. So the sooner we can get rid of daylight savings, which apparently we all agree except you, Rick, that we should get rid of it.
I'm the holdout.
Yeah, there you go. There's always one.
It's just as well that I have all the power, and therefore what I say goes, as is
this
clearly
is why consensus does not ever work. No one should be asked to agree.
That's it. I think benevolent dictatorship is definitively the way forward, and I should be in charge. But you know,
no, that's still someone needing to agree. If we just base time on something constant, like we try to do, theoretically there can't have disagreements. Yet but we still seem to find disagreements within that.
But then all that would happen is the French would try to decimalize it. We'd all agree on something, and then somebody would say, "You know what? It should really be in base 10. Let's go for that." Has anyone ever made a wristwatch that's in base 10?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
you remember? Don't make me start talking about Swatch and internet time or whatever the hell they're trying to do.
Yeah, that was successful.
Dear me. Right, well, before we started recording, myself and Ripley were debating where this week's clapage should go, and we have decided unanimously, without consulting Ariel, because we know how much he loves these things in the first place, that this week's clapage should go to Phillips. It should go to Phillips.
Oh, no, that clapping is fine. It's the other game I don't like.
You don't like any of the games. Just you wait. We'll get onto the Sweetie game shortly. So the Phillips get the clapage. We maybe should explain. It's always good.
Please explain.
It's always good to explain what clapage is. Ladies and gentlemen who are listening to the show, who have just become loyal listeners, we used to have to clap before we started recording in order to sync all the audio. And so it was a habit. And then the technology overtook us so that we didn't have to do that. But we enjoy clapping so much for this show, we thought we'd clap for something in an ironic sense. So this week's winner is Phillips for all sorts of reasons. The first one being for reselling a watch that they sold in 2016 and being so proud of it, as if they actually made the thing. They sell a steel Patek Philippe for, what was they sold for 12? I came with an episode been alongside a more record price. A vintage watch sold for 12 million. They sold it for 11 million in 2016. I'm not sure that's as worthy a celebration as they think it is. No?
Okay, first of all, we're part of the problem by even talking about this.
I knew you'd love this.
There is a revolving door strategy employed by many specialist auction houses. And that strategy means this same product will come through our doors constantly. We might even change it a little bit each time, but we'll make money on the sale each time. So they benefit greatly from these items being purchased, resold, purchased, resold. And there's a lot of strategies they can use to get someone to bid very highly on it. It's very similar to a conspiracy in the sense that there's a bunch of people in on it, and the crime is getting the person who pays it to be like, yes, that's a good value. Yes, that's a good idea. So sometimes the person buying it knows and gets some back channel thing that they were promised. But let's just say that this is not exactly, organic market behavior in action. This is not a natural outcome of supply and demand. This is a lot of manipulated behavior. So the best strategy to kind of shield against this problem of this false evaluation is just not to talk about this at all, because we can poke a billion holes in this, but at the end of the day, this hot air balloon ain't going nowhere. So we'll be able to pick all the holes in it we want to.
Well, there's plenty of holes, but I just think it's so interesting that they're the holes are extensive, but that they're saying, good on us, we hit records. Everything is more expensive now than it was years ago. Go to the grocery store. Eggs are beating that 15-18 if you want to talk about percentage increase from 2016 to 2025. So it's natural for things to be more expensive. If you sold everything that you sold before again today, you'd probably sell it for more. To me, that is not news. I mean, it would be bad if they sold them for less, but as Ariel mentioned, they make money by selling the things, not necessarily what they sold for. So if they just kept selling them every other day, they'd take their 20% or 25% buyer's premium on top of every single one of those, and the machine keeps perpetuating. It's in no way a reflection of the value. But given that the price of everything is so much more, $1 million going up over the course of a decade, well, I don't know if that's, you might have done better on real estate with 12 million.
I think you would have done better just about keeping it in the bank.
The reporting of this content is part of the problem. This is part of the propaganda, if you will, that this is somehow a good idea. We may know better, but and again, this is just Watch Pro. We love you guys, but you'll publish anything. But they got real financial media to start covering these auctions as though this is somehow financial news. This is somehow information that's relevant. This is not. This is this is puppetry, okay? This is performance theater. Oral Box is a trained actor, okay? He's a very intelligent guy. He's good at what he does, but let's not pretend that they're selling watches, again, what the market is demanding. This is a highly curated affair.
Yes, and we're here. The reason we're covering it is to continue to poke a hole in it as best we can. We might just be snipping at the edges. And I do obviously, this was Periscope's coverage of the watch in question that sold for this $1 million more was severely kicked by Periscope as being maybe not all that Phillips and others
little Botoxed up,
little Botoxed up, little treatment, little treatment on yieldy dial and numerals, and just that. And this is the problem: is these watches come around, all the really detailed photograph. In 2016, we were able to take pretty decent photographs. It wasn't like we were using Polaroid; there was digital photographs. So the people who care about these things can compare and contrast to the good photographs taken in 2025 and go, wait a minute, this doesn't look right. On the basis that no one's really been wearing this watch for the past 10 years, and it's probably been in a safe or a cupboard somewhere, how is this watch transformed so much and it's still considered the same thing? I also find it interesting that, there's a lot of things here, but Phillips, that well-known Russian-owned company, let's just say, we've sanctioned lots of things in this world to do with Russia. Can we sanction Phillips? Is that a thing? Should that be a thing? Could that be a thing? Anyway, there we go.
Are they Russian-owned? I didn't realize
they're Russian. Are they not? Have I just made that up? I have no idea. I thought they were Russian-owned. Anyway, this week's ironic clapage goes to Phillips for managing to increase the price of a watch by $1 million in 10 years, which they think is a really good, and we think you should probably just have put the money in the bank and not being so silly. So this week's clapage to Phillips. Well done, Phillips. Well done.
If you're not mistaken, according to Google's, the Phillips auction house is owned by the Mercury Group, a luxury retail company based in Moscow, Russia, founded by Leonid Friedland and...
Oh, I know the Mercury folks.
Yeah. They acquired Phillips in 2008.
Oh, you do you?
Yeah. They own some retail and stuff like that. They're both above and below the line there. Look, they're smart folks out there. But go buy watches for them at full retail price at brand new. This whole auction thing, it's just It's just a game. It's just a game,
just
folks.
silly.
Well, for $12 million, you can go ball really, really hard at the Patek boutique and then go buy a house to store your Pateks. So just for perspective there.
And buy all your friends a house as well.
Look, I wrote. I have to mention it again now. What year was it now? My article about 10 things you need to know about watch auction houses or something like that.
I will find that. Hold on. 10 thing. Well, actually, you might need to find it for me. Yeah, if you find it for me, we'll stick the article up here and have a brief chat. If you send us a link in the chat. Good morning,
So
Boris.
This basically just discussed the major reasons why you should not trust. 2014. Okay.
Send us a link.
Like nothing has changed. Like nothing has changed. It's gotten worse in some ways. It definitely hasn't gotten better. It's just I think it's funny that they continue to seduce people and trick them and think that this is somehow news. Financial publications still cover this. They still have legitimate PR people. Like, this is just a big game, and they're preying on these poor, unfortunate, bored, rich people. And then everyone else is being deluded into thinking, boy, is that new Patek watch worth it because that vintage one went for so much? I mean, that's also part of the game. That's why Patek got so sensitive about this, because the publication, the news about these expensive watches at auction has a direct impact on lay consumers feeling comfortable about buying new watches at retail price. But it's just been a justification for all these people to raise their prices. Rolex, Patek, that do so well at auction, guess what? They've had like insane price increases over the last couple of years, buoyed by the fact that people are like, well, their used watches go for so much at auction. So it's all part of this cohesive, large scale manipulation to convince people these things are worth more than they are. And don't get me wrong, these are expensive products to make. I'm not saying they should be cheap, but they don't need to be as expensive as they are right now.
Yes, I've got the article up there on screen for those that are watching on YouTube. Yeah. Oh, there he is. There's Mr. Paul Newman. It's all his fault. We blame Paul Newman for creating this market in the first place. There you go check out the article. Right, let's check out another article.
I mean, disagree with me.
I don't disagree. The only bit of that article I disagree with now is the glamorization of watch auctions. I think they've become significantly less glamorous because they're now all filled with smelly watch geeks rather than glamorous people swanning in. The number it's become Nerdville watch auctions in a way that it wasn't.
Well, that's who goes there, but they still get press coverage. There's still copious amounts of press releases. They're still pushing very, very hard this stuff. You're right. There's a little bit less of like, come get your watch evaluated. Come get a free evaluation. They're pushing less to get people to sell their watches with them, again, because it's a very curated affair and they have their sort of stable of usual suspects.
Yeah. Right. Another article from yourself, no doubt. I think we'll probably be talking about this one in 10 years' time as well.
On the topic of high prices.
Talking of high prices. According to Ariel, the luxury watch industry created its own worst enemy with high prices. Now it faces a reckoning. Is the apocalypse... rumors of the apocalypse, it turns out, have not been falsely reported. I saw another article in Watch Pro. Again, it's one of these things. They make the graph look really bad until you zoom out and you realize it ain't that bad. But it does appear to be that, certainly on the secondary market, there genuinely is a reckoning, certainly in Rolex, who would be considered the bellwether for these things in terms of the prices, if not dramatically falling, then certainly not climbing at the same rate as they were in the used
we point
market.
to Rolex as like the leading indicator for it, or like a representation of it. But like Rolex is always the exception to the rule in terms of tax status and everything. They're the exception to the rule. Everything was so inflated during the COVID era that Rolex didn't have anywhere. It was not sustainable. There's no reason like a 25-year-old Submariner should be like over $10,000. That's bonkers. Like they had nowhere to go but down. I think you're seeing kind of more of an equalization. People aren't dropping $50K for a steel Daytona that's still in production that you can buy for $15,000. Other prices are kind of moving forward, but everyone likes to point to Rolex and say this is a telling indicator. And it's like that it was so out of whack for so long. It's just now starting to come back to reality.
So, Ariel, what's your global observation of this? What prompted this to be written right now rather than kept in the draft or written a year ago?
So I liken the watch industry often to a feeding frenzy where, like, you know, sharks will like all storm in on like a, you know, school of fish and basically just eat them until they're all gone, just gobble it up as much as possible. There isn't sort of like an overarching like leader that says like, okay, let's let a few of them stay alive so that, you know, they can go breed a little bit so we can have another one of these. It's just sort of like, you know, unfettered gluttony until there's nothing left. And the watch industry often operates this way. If they think that there's sort of like food to be had, they will gobble it as quickly as they can, as aggressively as they can, and then sort of not see the end of the road coming where their strategy has them run out of food very quickly. They're not sustainable in that way. And so what ends up happening is the watch industry experiences this long cycle of bubbles and bursts, right? They have all these things of like, oh, let's get on this design. Let's get on this brand. Let's get in this country. Let's get in this whatever. And they just put all their like effort into these areas that inevitably, you know, are not sustainable. So that is really what I'm worried about. Another bubble that is going to burst. I try to illustrate the reasons the problem exists and some of the solutions that I think are there, not necessarily all the manifestations of it. There's tons of examples of watches that have had their retail prices, and that's specifically what I'm talking about in this article, not used watches, but retail priced watches, even though used watches are part of that world. And I've shown that prices have gone up a lot and regularly, like sometimes more than once a year, prices are going up. As a consumer, it's like a moving target. It's ridiculous. So we have this situation where watch prices are inflating and inflating and inflating and inflating. And yes, to a degree, there's sort of this new, group of microbrands, startup brands, whatever you want to call them, that are able to take advantage of some of that huge gaps in the market, which are left open. At the end of the day, those small micro brands are not really part of the industry so much as they use excess manufacturing capacity. It's the big brands that exist to allow the industrial base that makes the watches support itself. The little guys just can't do that right now. So the big brands, not every single one, definitely not every single one, but too many of them have increased retail prices to points where like very few people are willing to buy them, can buy them, especially without manipulation and a bunch of weird strategy. So what I've noticed is that people are turned off by the hobby because of a general perception of really, really high prices. And a lot of enthusiasts can be like, yeah, but if you know what you're doing, you can find a deal. And that's true. But remember, this hobby requires a large we'll say, net, and it needs a lot of mainstream people to come in. So when mainstream people come in and they look at the prices of the popular brands, your Rolexes, your Omegas, your Cartiers, and they see them so high, they don't imagine that they could get something pretty decent for $1,000 or $2,000. They're just like, wait a minute, and this is the mainstream brand, and even more exclusive stuff is even more expensive. Like, I'm not even touching this hobby. Like, this is just too much. And again, it's not like the industry is having like focus groups and market research saying like, okay, we think we can charge this much and no more, or unless we've broken the system. They'll just keep pushing it and pushing it like a feeding frenzy and just gobbling up as much as they can, not looking 5 feet ahead to realize that, the end of the rope is there. And I'm worried that it's coming soon. And as I said, the industry is going to face a reckoning. The US has already basically stopped consuming what they don't want to spend money on, right? So the watch industry now is not even thinking in a wholesale way, okay, now that the most important market, which is the US, is kind of not growing the way we want, let's rethink things. No, they're doing their same old thing, which is, okay, let's see where else in the world we can go. Where else are consumers richer and stupider? They're not even trying to reformulate it. They're all trying to convince themselves that like China's back, which it's not. So again, this article is pretty in depth. I think it's like over 4,000 words. And people have enjoyed it. It was a long time in the writing, But again, it's certainly not the end of the story.
And so, I mean, we've seen this week both Timex buying
Daniel Wellington.
Oh
God!
And
talk about expensive email lists.
And Fossil Group being rescued from administration. So at the bottom end of the market, you're seeing trouble at mill. Clearly, that's going to keep playing through for both of those big brands to have had. I mean, I don't know what they paid for Daniel Wellington. Probably a couple of probably a couple of PRXs.
$45.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been much. And same with the creditor rearrangement of Fossil Group. Is the bottom, to what extent does the bottom end of the market, which is now dominated by the micro brands? So before there were micro brands, what was there? There was fashion brands which were really cheap, and there was the cheaper end of the well-known brands, like a Tag Formula One that was quartz that you could get into Tag for a limited amount of money, and once you were into Tag, you were into the Swiss brand. Whereas now, at the low end, what you're getting into is the micro brand. And I wonder if what's happening is actually we're seeing a separation between micro brands and, for the sake of argument, Swiss brands, to the extent that buying into one doesn't necessarily mean you ever move into the other. It just means you buy more micro brands, because what you're interested in is the variety, not investing £10,000 or whatever in one watch. What you like is owning 10 £500 watches that you can play around with, that when you break, you just dispose of. You don't need to pay for expense. You don't need the hassle that comes with it, the theft, the insurance bill, all the stuff that the media says is bad about luxury watches and that we report about. So actually what we're seeing is a separation of these two things into two entirely different types of object. Virtually, you're seeing all the watch shows with hundreds of micro brands at them, and then you're seeing the big watch shows with the major $1 billion retail brands there. So I was just seeing the two separate, such that it's basically now two industries.
Well, I think you bring up a few topics there. In the beginning, you start talking about the failures of the mass market brands like Fossil and Timex. And for me, their failures are more related to distribution. Fossil especially never quite recovered from being sold in a mall-style environment, at least in the United States and I'm sure other places. And when those places started having less sales, Fossil suffered as a result. Fossil has been able to sell directly consumer, but they don't have that wholesale volume that they sort of relied on. And Timex is in a very similar story. Both of these companies have invested relatively heavily into having their own online stores and stuff like that. But as we know, because we work in the industry, they don't consistently spend. And since Fossil's been having financial problems, they have really pulled back on spending. So, when the catalog industry was really big, department stores were selling catalog and stuff like that. These companies are doing fantastic. But, so their business models haven't really shifted as well in the distribution environment, but their products are still fine. I don't really think they failed in the product thing. It's just not enough people really know about it. I think it's ironic that they bought Daniel Wellington, because if you look at the sort of end of Daniel Wellington, yes, it was known for selling a lot of watches like on social media at the time when it was cheap, and working with influencers was like a new novel thing. But they ended up going the wholesale route. In order to grow and sustain, they found all these little stores around the world to sell their watches in. And so the question is, what actually is Timex getting? When Movado bought MVMT, which I swear I have no idea what they're doing with, if anything, the whole point was like, this company knows how to sell online. We need that skill. I don't know that MVMT is actually very good at that. I already knew that what their strategy wasn't going to work by the time that they sold to Movado. But is that why Timex bought Daniel Wellington? To sell online because they were good at that, a decade ago? I think it's sort of an interesting question to say, what is it they're sort of really getting? I'm sure they got it at a bargain basement price. Yeah. I don't know why anyone else would get it, but that's why these companies don't send out proud press releases like, guess who we bought, like I'll like Timex has never informed me about this. Movado and all our conversations never brought up MVMT one time.
Ripley, your thoughts on the matter? How are you seeing the market progressing?
I mean, I've bought lots of things I'm not proud of and would rather not mention in conversation.
Okay, worst purchase in recent history.
I mean, the last month of my health insurance that went through before I got married and didn't need that anymore. That's just money exploded on the hillside. But I mean, there can be a lot of reasons why a brand can buy another brand. If I was Timex, though, I would not want Daniel Wellington wouldn't be the one I'd want. Timex is like the brand of the people. Yeah, it's the thing you're going to see in like Walmarts and big box stores and all of that. But they also have like definitely some watch nerds over there. There's definitely some cool models and like the Q. And there's far more enthusiast driven things. And they have been leaning into that over the last several years, let alone the Timex Atelier stuff where it's Swiss and at a higher price point. But they've got a lot of cool stuff that's pretty cheap that you need the cool stuff to sell online, I think, in this digital era. 10 years ago, it was different. There were tactics to make a quick sale, but to keep that sustaining, you ultimately do need a product. You just can't keep finding new fools to buy your junky watches. So they have cool watches. I think they just need to be promoted more and let people know. If I went on to Timex right now, I'd probably find a dozen things I didn't know existed that are actually pretty cool and affordable. But they don't really talk about them. Instead they're promoting like a collaboration or a Peanuts watch. And it's some of those expedition things that are going to be the thing that some enthusiast one night's going to buy. And yeah, it'll be like, $100 or something like that.
Next stop, 1983 is what you're greeted with on the Timex website. That just sounds very... Oh, yeah, actually, I maybe shouldn't have gone to the Timex website. What the blazes is that? Eye of Horus thing.
Jackie collaboration with all of the jewels in the eye.
I'm going to review that just for you, Rick.
But look next to it. Look next to it at that GMT. That GMT is pretty cool. It's I believe that's the Miyota 9 series. Like,
is that one of their James's?
Yeah,
James brand.
James Brand.
Is that something is that them? And they just made that
Not
up?
James Mann, but James Brand.
But it's not James Bond, James Brand.
James Brand.
Is that their own thing? Is it? That's not somebody. There's not actually a thing called the James Brand.
Yeah, no, there is something called the James Brand.
Yeah, this is a collaboration.
Can't you see their design influence all over it?
Well, I don't know. It just might have been being made
the
up.
Emptiness. That's all James. So it's that weird geometric turtle or whatever that is on the dial.
Staring into the dark void of brand, James Brand. It's pretty cool. $600. It's not bad in the grand scheme of things, I suppose. Anything else interesting on the Timex website? I doubt it.
There's lots of stuff
like that GMT, the Exposition GMT.
Yeah.
If you want something a bit older looking, the quartz.
I wrote up a Waterbury GMT that you'll see on the site within the next couple weeks or so. Yeah. And yeah, that's a couple $100. It's a good looking, like dressy GMT. And it has a Swiss movement.
Yeah, I'd forgotten they did that Q Timex with the, what do you call it, hands? Not imaginary hands. That's something different. What's the phrase I'm looking for, gentlemen? Mystery dial. The mystery dial. I've forgotten they did that. That's quite nice. Got an Omega Pastiche in the Deepwater Meridian for $215. That from a distance, no one's going to be able to tell that you're not wearing some sort of Omega. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about this.
I have my rant ready, by the way.
Oh, do you? Oh, that's good.
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking about this through the week as to what actually encourages anyone nowadays to just buy a watch from Timex or any of these brands.
Encourages?
Who wakes up in the morning and decides, you know what's missing in my life? Yeah, I've got to 22 and I don't own a watch. I'm going to go and buy a watch. Like, how are people being brought in to buying a watch? Because
going to the department store and perusing the but nobody goes to vitrines.
But that's my point. Is nobody goes to department stores. Nobody looks at catalogs in advance of Christmas.
This is not good for Timex.
How does somebody who are they only waiting on a relative to introduce them. So it's only ever mum and dad that decide that 11-year-old Charlie is now ready for their first watch. And that's what happens. And they grow out with it. And either they decide in a peak of desperation because they can't think in this consumerist society what else to buy them for their Christmas, that eventually they just buy them another watch. And
watches make a good gift, sir.
No, Timex still has a place because in the old days, I'd say, I get someone like a Seiko diver, like an SKX or something. Like a Seiko Prospex is now not what I'm getting, like my high school nephew type of thing. Yes. He can get a bit older until he's getting that. So then it becomes Timex, and Timex has sort of filled that void where you go to Walmart or like Target and you see things under $100. Weekenders,
Timex.
Easy Readers, Iron Men.
Filling the void. Since 1983.
Let's be honest.
The ones you saw, like $200 to $600, that's what Seiko used to do a lot of that they don't anymore.
So actually, in a roundabout way, are Timex in the purchase of the likes of Daniel Wellington actually positioning themselves in the best place, which is good-looking stuff, so fashionable, but also cheap as chips, so that cousin Ripley can buy it as a birthday present for somebody's 13th birthday, and suddenly that person's into the watch world. Because as you say, you ain't buying them an SKX because it's 600 quid. You might buy that for yourself, but you're not buying it for anybody else unless you're incredibly generous. And
that's a good if that's their only strategy, which is not, that's a good one. The watch that satisfied watch nerd standards, but is cheap enough that they can buy as a gift for a relative or a friend and not be like, oh, that's Omega money.
Yeah, well, or I'm not buying that. It's got Daniel Wellington written on it. In other words, do you think, for example, in the Timex Daniel Wellington, you're going to see the rebuilding of Daniel Wellington, the brand, or you're going to see the building of Timex?
What do you mean rebuilding? They had they never had a good product.
I was going to say there's nothing there. There's nothing to build it back to.
Okay,
there was
it's
this
just about
one mediocre.
So is it just about buying capacity and whatever talent exists in the company?
They're buying an email list. I wasn't joking. What else? There's nothing else there to get.
Right. Okay. So is this when we get a data leak and we find out who's on Daniel Wellington's? Ripley gets an email from Timex. It's because he wasn't a Daniel Wellington customer.
Well, I'd be happy. That's an upgrade for the email. Instead of seeing that same bland watch that was overpriced, now they can market that James brand thing, which is pretty cool.
No,
imagine if Giorgio Galli start designing all the Daniel Wellington stuff. It's like beautiful and amazing. And the Daniel Wellington guys are like, oh my God, you did this with the brand? And then I wake up from my dream.
You remember back in the day, Skoda was considered not to be a good brand, and then it was eventually bought by VW. And do you get Skodas in America? Is Skoda a thing in the States?
All we need to do is talk about the other Sko, which is Skagen.
Skagen, yeah.
That was purchased.
Denmark, that was really the first brand that I remember that was purchased because it was like cheap and popular.
Mm-hmm.
From my time.
I still see them. Someone wants a watch. They want it kind of classy. If they had an unlimited funds, they'd probably get a Nomos. But then it makes sense why you see so many of those things. And they're like, it's European, it's Scandinavian design. It's like
you fell for it.
Isn't.
But here's what I've noticed. I noticed that I saw Skagen represented in the world, meaning on wrists in the marketplace, less after it was purchased than before. So every single time these companies are purchased in this way, I don't want to say they die, but you never hear from them again because they end up being locked in the closet for the rest of their life.
The number of successful company purchases of one big company by another that actually works is in any industry is incredibly small. It genuinely
There's one I know of, and it barely works. And they put in years and years of preventative measures to stop the inevitable, which eventually happened. And that is Disney's acquisition of Pixar.
Right. Okay.
That's a whole huge story unto itself. But that's right. Skagen was bought by Fossil. What other smarter moves? No, actually, it was.
And then they end up owning $150 million to their creditors.
But it is it's a complete fantasy to ever suggest that acquiring company helps the company. It might help the company that acquired it, but acquiring a company, I don't know, 99% of the time is bad for the company. In any industry, let's just be honest.
Yeah, Nick Jonas is now the public profile of Fossil Group.
Who are they trying to sell watches to? Who, honestly, who
paleontologists, of course.
Well, I just mean the guy who was famous, I don't know, when the 12-year-old girl from 15 years ago, who is the target demographic for this?
Yeah, I'm just looking for a picture of Nick Jonas.
Better than opening up a Chevrolet franchise.
Yeah, well, there's no way that Nick Jonas is seen in public wearing.
It's that or 5 Jamba Juices. Okay, that's all Fossil Group cost them.
There you go. There's
the cost of 5 Jamba Juice franchises.
There you go. There is Nick Jonas. Very much not, I would suggest, wearing a Fossil Group product. That looks like a full gold.
What is a Nick Jonas?
What is a Nick Jonas? How many Nick Jonases to the pound?
Nick Jonas is like the Charmander of the other Jonases. It's the smallest of the Jonas, the youngest Jonas. And except unlike the Pokemon, when they evolve, they get cooler. I don't really know. I think the oldest one's not cool. I'm not an expert on this, but
are they actors? Do they perform somehow?
They
what
used
do they
to
do?
be in a band and wore rings to flaunt their virginity. Right, yeah. That's what I know about them. They used to be in a Disney Channel band and all wore purity rings to flaunt their virginity.
So they're not acrobats. Okay, I get it.
No.
The Jonas acrobats.
I thought they were a circus act.
Is it like sizes of champagne bottle? You start with the champagne bottle, then the Nebuchadnezzar and the Balthasar.
So they're virginity watches now? Is that the whole idea behind Fossil?
Promise watches, the purity watches.
That's where this is going. That's where this is going.
Well, to be fair, if you wear one, it might be a great way to preserve that.
Yeah.
The chastity strap.
The Chastity Watch. Fossil Group invents the Chastity Watch. I think that, listen, there are parts of the States where apparently that would probably sell really quite well. That's how you get folk into watches.
Do not wear this watch on a date.
Maybe that's why Daniel Wellington.
Maybe
Timex needed a Chastity Watch brand, and that's why Daniel Wellington was purchased.
No, Fossil is now the Chastity brand.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, has anyone been to our Fossil party? Is this introducing a level of control into Fossil parties? Were they known to be like the Breitling parties of old?
Look, we love the people at Fossil. No one there is partying right now, okay?
Right, okay. There's no parties happening.
I'm a former employee of Fossil. One of my first jobs in the watch industry, I worked in the Fossil store in Times Square, and it pained me that I could only wear Fossil watches.
You stared across Times Square looking at the Invicta deal that was going on across the other side of the road. Buy one, get 4 free.
Let me be that salesman.
To work for Invicta.
No. That was the classy watch store in Times Square, the Fossil store. There were some better designs back then. But I did take a Citizen off each day and leave it in my locker when I went to work.
Oh, well, there you go. Right. We should talk about something else. Let's say I'm really keen on what Ariel's rant is. So let's do a show within a show. Ripley already had a rant on the go. So maybe we'll have 2 rants and we'll decide who's the best rant. Ripley's rant was MoonSwatch, which kind of links into this, was that MoonSwatch is not that cheap.
Yeah, how did we ever convince ourselves of that?
So
I mean, we can go with that one. I can save it. We can do 2.
I think there's room for 2. So
let him go first because Ripley, I think it's amusing.
Ripley, our show within a show, Rant is over to you first of all. With MoonSwatch is not that cheap. Go.
Yeah, I don't know how that became just celebrated as the bar for cheap watches. Maybe it was because we were all stuck inside for the pandemic and weren't going out, but my column is actually affordable, where I choose to highlight a cool affordable watch. And there are so many watches that are less than a MoonSwatch and made from real metal and sapphire and good materials and stuff. And it's not like these are terribly expensive, but and there was definitely the novelty and the moment and all of that. But when you really start thinking about these within the context of what affordable watches are, this is not them. This is more expensive than most Timexes. And if you're paying this type of money, you're getting a pretty good Timex. This is a lot more expensive than your entry level G-Shocks. At this price point, you're getting some metal bezels or something cool on it. for the time or for something with an Omega logo, sure, it's cheap, but and I mean, compared to like a regular Speedmaster, sure, it's inexpensive, but when you think about what you're getting for the price of a MoonSwatch, it's just a little bit baffling that this is like good horological fun. It's like, I'd take that same money and go to Spinnaker's website if you want something fun. It'll be made out of steel and sapphire, and you can get SpongeBob, and it will probably still cost less. So I don't know. It just sort of seems strange that I keep writing the conclusion paragraph on an article and being like, yeah, it's still less than a MoonSwatch. You know, it's or like, look at the price of the Apple Watch SE, not the flagship Apple Watch, but technological marvel. Yeah, it's what, like $240 or something? How much are these right now?
Don't you want to support expensive Swiss labor? Come on, Ripley.
Look, I would be so much more willing to support their like 8-week-long summer vacations if I also had an 8-week-long summer vacation in my country. But it's just like rubbing salt in the wound. You're going to charge me more so that y'all can go on summer break? Come on.
But, you're kind of joking, but also not. And that's the problem with the Swiss-made value proposition, is they try to make it be like, oh, support our like poor little unfortunate, backwards cottage industry. And then they're like, wait a minute, no, you're not that. You're like, charging a fortune for something, and the justification is, well, things cost more over here. But they don't say that in China or Japan or America, for that instance, where stuff is being made. And you're right, when conditions in the United States and other Western worlds are worse than the watchmakers have it, then we're like, sorry, now you need to support our lifestyles, okay? So tone it down with the expenses. Your government will help you. Ours clearly has no intention of doing so.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously this week it was reported that Mr. Trump now has a very nice Rolex clock sitting on his desk. So,
and like a gold bar. Can you get more thinly veiled?
At least the Swiss, when they bribe people,
they know what he likes.
They know how to do it. They're like, yes, Mr. Trump, here is a gold bar for you. Now, please reduce our tariffs, because we've got a fondue habit to maintain over here. We've got a fondue addiction and an addiction to money that you're letting the side down. You'd have thought that if they'd just given them loads of chocolate, what we want to do is give them the highest sugar content chocolate they can conceivably make, something to induce, what do you call it? A hypoglycemic incident, so he's carted off and somebody else can make some better decisions. But yeah, gold bar, that's pretty on the nose in terms of...
Well, they make gold bars in Switzerland. So the whole thing was like, here's stuff we make in Switzerland.
What I want to know, though, is...
and we print money in the U.S. I know.
The Swiss are happy to take that from us.
It's a match made in heaven.
More than happy.
But I want to know how they got the gold bar into the country, because... as soon as they take it out the diplomatic bag and give it, do they not have to pay tax on it because they've just imported?
Do you think they're flying commercial? This is
maybe that was the
jet.
No
one's checking anything.
They give it to Trump and they're like, "This is for you, but you have to pay 39%." On the. And he goes, "Oh, whoa. We didn't do the paperwork. If you want to pay that, if
you want the gold bar, then you have to reduce the tariffs, and therefore you don't pay it." Yeah. So yeah, you got to admire Rolex for the style of bribery. At least they're straight on it.
Well, at least they gave a clock. Who was that Met Gold organization who just gave the bar? It wasn't Rolex who gave the bar. They make bars, but they gave a gift. But
the other really fun thing is who was the other person in the room? So there was the Rolex chief executive, the guy from the Swiss Gold. Who else was in the room? And yet it's not been reported of giving them anything. Your guy Rupert from Richemont was also there. Who's heard what Richemont gave him a Panerai probably, and that's why it's not been reported. Here's a Panerai. What is this? What is this nonsense?
I think Rupert's like, I showed up.
I'm here. I got off my chair and went. So
you see the picture? I mean, look, I know he doesn't like go into meetings and stuff like that. That's not his thing. But like that he actually did it in his mind, like, okay, I'm doing a lot here.
This is my heavy lifting for the week. So there we go. So yes.
Do Swiss robots go on vacation? Yes, I believe they do.
Well, they do. With no one to man the machines, they just sit dormant.
They have better healthcare than the two Americans on this show right now. Or cheaper healthcare.
Rick, like the cinder block in my backyard has better free healthcare than I do.
Healthcare?
These words, I recognize both, just not in that order.
So that's our rant. Always consider that MoonSwatch ain't really that cheap for what you're getting. Right, Ariel, show within a show, rant number 2 from you. What are you giving us?
Oh, wait, I want to focus more on rant number 1. Was there an idea out there that the MoonSwatch was cheap? Like, is this a running theme?
I think it gets presented as being, here's your entry level. If you want a little bit of Swiss magic, then go buy a MoonSwatch.
Yeah, and it's so much more expensive than a regular swatch. Like if you want a Swiss thing that says it's Swiss, go get like a Victorinox or something like that. Or better yet, go get like the $65 or $90 swatch and it's the same company. And
do you think you might be a bit infected by social media? Because here's the thing. I don't pay attention to those channels and I didn't hear this. And Swatch is so bad at communicating. I know they didn't say it. So I'm wondering if this is sort of like something you're overhearing.
No, I just know a lot of people who had bought one thinking like, yeah, it wasn't that much. I would get the cool. I got on the hype train. And then I realized I could have actually bought like a Seiko or something cool for that.
They wouldn't get dirty. Like fundamentally, it gets dirty. It stays. If we still smoke,
I'm not trying to sell our services because we don't sell our services to consumers, but like come and read about watches for a while before you buy these things. Don't go on social media for a few minutes and be like, okay, I've got valuation figured out. I'll buy the plastic Pateks. That's great. No, I think that like if you spend any time in this hobby whatsoever, you recognize that the MoonSwatch is almost like a false flag. Like, is it cool? No, it's just a toy. Okay. All right. Cool toy. Still a toy. I'm big grown out of toys. And that's what the MoonSwatch is. It's like Fisher Price, like my first like chronograph. That's what it is. And like, that's cool for a kid. But like, if you're like an adult walking around with like a Fisher Price like screwdriver set in plastic, people will be like, that's not actually going to do anything good for you, right? You realize that. And it's kind of the same thing. And is it expensive? Yeah, but like, why are we surprised by that? This is a group of people that will price whatever they want. And the Swatch group is amazing because inside the Swatch group, you have all extremes. You have incredibly good values. Like some watches are like such a good amount of money, like Hamiltons and Tissot's and things like that. Yeah. Like, and then you have the opposite, like insanely poor values at some of the brands. And like, it's mostly in the very high-end watches or the Omegas, but then like Swatch is now bad value. So it's like, it's so weird that internally at the same company, they're so inconsistent on this basic idea of valuation. Imagine if General Motors was like that. Like at least they were sort of somewhat consistent with pricing.
Well, Swatch is almost a microcosm of Swatch Group where you've got that radical inconsistency of price. Swatch still has good value. Like my first watch ever when I was like 4 years old was a Swatch Flick Flack. It still runs today, and I guarantee you I didn't baby it in my youth. Yeah. No, I took the battery out actually, so it wouldn't keep me up at night. But like the entry-level swatches are actually really good value. And if you want something that gives a lot of design oomph for very little money, there's tons and tons of stuff. If you want to collect a bunch of watches, all of the regional exclusive stuff and the thematic things, it's a lot of fun for not that much. And then you've got this thing that just seems inexplicably expensive compared to everything else in the store. And that's kind of like Swatch Group. You got Mito, Tissot, Hamilton, Certina, all kind of killing it under $2,000. And then you go up to like $8,000 at Omega and you go, wait, what happened? Wait, what's that different? Well, of course that's a little bit better. And then it goes up to there and you're looking at like the 50 fathoms going, oh, that's a bit dear then. Okay.
But this is what I was also contemplating this through the week about the world of microbrands and looking at the amount of stuff that's out there and just going, you know what? I'm not sure I like any of these anymore. And I wonder whether Swatch is now missing a trick, that it really just needs to get its act together at the kind of $50 I mean, maybe it's not the most environmentally friendly thing, but basically disposable fashion watch. Something that just looks cool for a summer, isn't some micro brand that's just trying to rip off a Submariner or a Speedmaster or some Gerald Genter nonsense, but that actually is just fashionable for that moment at $50. So you'd buy it because you just fancied something that was luminous yellow, because you were just in a luminous yellow frame of mind for going on your holidays.
And then what do? You burn it for fuel? What happens after?
Well, it's made of bioceramic, so it's compost it. I don't
compost
know.
It.
You keep it. It becomes a memory of a holiday, the same way that you might keep your airplane tickets that you used to go on holiday. You also have the watch that you wore on that holiday and you remember something. I don't know.
Okay, if this is something you do, Ripley and I have to come over and do an emergency hoarder detox. If you ever see it, you have vacation receipts from years ago.
I might have overshared there somewhat.
I was born an accountant.
Yes. There we go. Cool. Right. Rant number 2, Mr. Adams.
Oh yeah, I get to talk about something now. All right. Some of these watches will come out in a few weeks. Some of them have already come out. I think the one I'll start with was the Cartier that came out this year with a name that I can't pronounce, that has the tiny little windows. And that's what this rant is about, is please don't be excited about watches with tiny little windows. Some of them have actual jumping discs. Some of them have like wandering discs. All of them are difficult to read. None of them are as nice in person as you think. I would say 90% of them are far harder to read than just traditional, like hour and minute hands.
Would this be the watch you're talking about? The Cartier Privé
yes,
Tank
this horrible thing that. Again, this is. Okay, you need something which is probably going to break. You still need to tell the time, but we're going to do everything possible to minimize the breakable windows, right? Like, that's all this is. It's like if a prison needs windows, but they need to be as small as possible.
Stop anybody escaping. That's the appeal here. If GLC had made this watch and said that polo players wear it, I might have believed them, but not the other one.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what. There's a few good things on the market, like the Zeitwerk, but that is by no means the norm. That is the exception. So now brands are starting to come out with more of these watches where most of the face is like empty, okay, or has nothing good there. You have a tiny thing to see the hour. Reading the minutes, oddly, is even worse. You have to the disc often moves the backwards way than you would expect. Yeah. Yep. And you have to take several steps to see, okay, what is the actual number that the arrow is pointing at? And do I look to the right or the left to know which direction? It just sucks. More and more of these watches will come out before it's over. Some of them from aBlogtoWatch advertisers. I'm sorry, but I know you guys like jumping on trends.
And
this
we're
is
not
a
afraid
terrible
to bite the hand
one.
that feeds us.
And as soon as you're exhausted with this design exercise, then please, that's the sooner the better.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's my rant.
I'm just having a look for
watches with tiny windows on it.
I'm just having a look for another brand on the website to see if we've covered it. No, we haven't. Any other watches that are already out?
Well, there's the Bremont example. That's a good one. There's a few coming up.
Yeah, Bremont. Let's see the Bremont. So the rant is stop it with small windows. Ripley.
If you're going to do that, at least use the area around it, because you're not getting a dial. The centerpiece of a normal watch is a dial, and that's usually the place where the brand goes to do something pretty and nice and gives it the legibility, and that's both practical and pretty and all of that. Without a dial and you just have these little windows, aside from issues of legibility, they're also taking out one of the more intricate and visually complex components. So don't just brush the top piece of metal, for God's sake, at least give me some engravings or a mural on it. If you're going to take out the visual centerpiece of the dial, don't put it with something that looks like I would use it to cover something else. So, I'm sure there could be a very tasteful implementation of this. As Ariel mentioned, it's not like all of them are bad. The Zeitwerk's lovely, but again, if you look at the face of that, it's not just a big, expansive brushed piece of steel with a window haphazardly placed in it. It looks like a watch, and it just simply using this style of display. This Bremont here we're looking at, or that Cartier, it doesn't look better than the regular Terra Nova in the case of the Bremont, and that's really, the bar was low. And then the Cartier, the Tank's a lovely watch. Who looks at the one with the little windows and said this is better? This Moser here, little windows, but at least they're doing something a bit more intricate with the display. There's a crystal and moving things under it. When it's just a flat piece of metal, it's so uninspiring and it almost looks unfinished. And rarely are they less expensive than the normal one with a dial. So it's just like you're paying more for nothing better. It's not functionally better. It's not aesthetically better. I guess it's a bit more unique, but now as we've just seen like 4 different things that kind of just look like the same, and I don't love any of them.
Yeah.
Okay. Uglier, illegible, and not technically interesting most of the time.
Okay. That's a good summary.
There's two more coming out within the next week or two, I think, that you'll see that they're even fancier, but they still utterly fail. And you look at it and you're like, what? Did you just do this because you thought Cartier wasn't, this is the popular thing to get consumer attention? Like, it's so clearly follow the leader without anyone actually saying, okay, guys, let's do this. They're just not nice enough. They're illegible. I am not aware of the watches you're speaking about, but are they jumper watches? Is this a jump hour thing? Maybe. I'm not sure if they operate that way or if it just sort of wanders.
Okay.
Let's put it this way. That wouldn't save them.
Not saved by the jumper. Okay. Right. Let us do a couple of Hermès maybes, and then we'll maybe do a Watcha Like, because we have some sweetie impact. And actually, maybe we'll do this as a Hermès maybe, because it is a kind of similar. It is a jumper watch, just released by Christopher Ward. Christopher Ward brings back the JJ01 with the C1 Jump Hour Mark 5. Yeah, not sure what to make of this. It's their first Jump Hour watch back. Again, they did have the collab with Fears that was also a Jump Hour, which they appear not to be including in the catalogue of when did we last produce a Jump Hour. It is 39mm across, 47.3 lug to lug. It's quite a neat and tidy little watch. I think it's reasonably thick, 14mm thick. Some nice pastel colours for the release. I'm not sure what else. Gentlemen, have you had a chance to read this at all?
How much is this thing?
This is, okay, when I first looked at this, I thought, let's change it from guess the price of the Seiko to guess the price of the Christopher Ward, because it's beginning to feel like that kind of brand that you can look at a watch and go, I actually have no idea how expensive that is. It could be less than £1,000 or it could be $5,000. So guess the price then of this Jump Hour from Christopher Ward. What do you reckon, Ariel?
4,000.
Okay, Ripley.
2,300.
Yeah, I think Ripley, you're closer. It is 29,295 on the leather and 3,165 on the 5-link bracelet.
Oh, $3,000. Okay,
it's $3,000 for a Christopher Ward. I just think I appreciate everything they do. They make a nice watch. But I still think they're getting into the drift that is, we want to do more and more nicer things. We've got the ability to do it. These things cost more money, therefore our prices are going up. And I think they're beginning to lose folk at the bottom end, which I still think is where they make all their money, except for the whole kind of Bel Canto, which I think was maybe a one-off thing. I'm not sure that it can repeat that. The remarkable trend that was for brief. I don't know if it's still selling quite as well. But my fear is if you have too many expensive Christopher Wards, then folk aren't going to feel bizarrely that the ones at the cheaper end are actually worth the money, because you just feel like you're buying a cheap watch. You don't feel like you're buying an expensive looking watch at a bargain price because you're on the same website seeing what looks like a similar kind of watch to a non-expert at £4,000 or at £3,000, as well as the one you're looking at, which is £800. And you might not be a sophisticated enough buyer to understand one's quartz, one's got a particular movement, and one's had all this hand working to, or got a specialist thingamajig in it. And so I'd be really interested to see what the trend in purchasing is Christopher Ward over the next 2 or 3 years, because I think this venturing into much more expensive models, I'm not sure it's the way I'd go. But it's not my business, and he's got loads of money, so what does he care? But
yeah, I think part of the reason why stuff like the Belcanto and Loco were so well received was because the brand had already developed a really strong following and a reputation for delivering good value at the sub $2,000, sub $1,000 price point. And so it's like, well, great. If that was that good for $1,100, what would a $4,000 watch be like? And you look at the Belcanto and the Loco, and they both look really striking for a Christopher Ward. It's different. You get the jump hour and it looks a little different than a normal watch, but there isn't anything so outspokenly, it doesn't ding, the balance wheel's not on the dial side of it. It just feels a little bit more conventional. But part of the magic of those was when you space them out a little bit and it's that brand who does really good work below 2,000 doing something at 2+ times that price, it's, that's cool. That's a cool thing for us to get a hold of. When that becomes the kind of the bread and butter, then the other ones just become kind of the underbidders for that, for the person who's priced out of your main ones you're putting the attention to. But I was really excited to see the Belcanto when it first came out. The first time I saw it in the metal. I haven't seen one of these in person, and I'm not going to be trying too hard to see one. Of course, if I see it at Wind Up or something, I'll take a look. But I don't have that same eagerness, and I can't imagine I'm the only person who feels that way.
Okay, so is it a hit, a miss, or maybe 1, 2, 3, go? I've still not moved my notices through from my other office, from the studio. It's a maybe. I'm not sure what Ripley's holding up.
I'm sorry. I was holding up the wrong one.
So it's maybes all around.
He's all discombobulated tonight.
Ariel, why is it a maybe from you?
I see a particular type of vintage American car enthusiasts, like 1950s and 60s cars, that can see similarities between this and certain dashboards and things like that. So I like the fact that it doesn't say Christopher Ward on it in any obvious way. And before Christopher Ward came out with this module, which again is not new, you really only had a very inexpensive and smaller Chinese module or a much more expensive kind of Swiss one to do this. And I do like the sort of jumping hour with somewhat larger aperture, because a watch like this can be the exception to that, dial with little windows is hard to read. This theoretically can be better, and I think Gerald Genta proved that with a lot of the watches that they did. This was supposed to be a platform where Christopher Ward could do that kind of Gerald Genta-y kind of stuff, where you have that traditional minute hand. I don't think it's retrograde. I think it's just standard one, and this jumping hour. They didn't do too much with it. I don't know why. I think it was just kind of expensive compared to what people wanted to pay for. So there's a lot of detail in the style. This is not an inexpensive hand. There's some pretty good finishing on here. I don't find it amazingly captivating. It looks unfinished. It looks like it's part of something else, But if you are that enthusiast of that sort of 50s appliance look, you're gonna like this. It might remind you of an oven you have or something. So on that end, I'm not against it. Does it turn me on? No. And in general, do I understand some of the appeal of the Christopher Ward brand? I did 20 years ago when I first learned about it. But they have this personality now, which is not real. People think they're a startup micro brand, and they're not. And I'm very confused about the entire enterprise. But again, I'm open-minded. And I think there's place for this to exist, but I don't actually know if it fits into their brand.
The fact that it has not even got a logo on the dial side, except that makes it quite clean, and it's just got the logo on the crown.
I mean, they've changed their logo so many times. Let's not commit. We don't know if it's going to change again by the time the dials get fitted to the watches. I just
wonder if this kind of no logo thing, okay, it might be okay for Moser when you're spending 40 grand and, anyone in the watch world, but I just feel it makes, this is a maybe for me, because I just feel it feels cheap. It feels cheaper than the price point. It doesn't feel like a bargain. Just
it wouldn't look better with Christopher Ward stamped below the window.
It probably wouldn't. That's probably not. I don't know. There's just something that just doesn't hold. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it's just the overuse of crystal and the kind of slightly floating hand. I kind of get it. But maybe in the metal, it would feel impressive. I think it's quite thick, so maybe it'll feel like it's got a bit of heft to it and a bit of mass that maybe makes it feel a bit more luxurious. It doesn't feel like a $3,000 worth of investment in a jumper, especially with all the other jumpers that are kicking about. But at least unlike the Cartiers and all the rest of it, it isn't just dominated with lots of little windows. There's just one window. Although it does remind me a little of that BB-8 from Star Wars with the little thing on the top and the little head and then the round body. Ripley, you gave it a maybe?
Yeah, I'll reserve my final judgment till I can see it in person. They don't put a logo on their kind of halo piece watches. The Belcanto, the Loco, this one don't have it. And I get the thought process is if you make a distinct enough design, people recognize it as yours. Several brands do that. But with this one, I don't really know if I would categorize it as their design. I can think of a few other watches that sort of check similar aesthetic boxes. So I don't know if it's as successful in this instance. Among those three, like the Loco, the Belcanto, and this one, this is my least favorite. I like that they loomed that hour disc. That's a good call. I don't know what those little balls are on the minute track. Like that thing between 5 and 10 that looks like it would have an importance, but isn't.
7.5, because the minute you're really looking for is when it's 7.5 minutes past something.
Those would be like the securing bolts. Again, they're just taking this from like dashboard instruments that we need those.
They could just glue them. They could just use glue.
I don't know. It looks like they should do something, but they don't. Again, it looks nice. I like the case back. Having a physical hand and a crystal over the dial kind of eliminates that issue with the little windows thing we were talking about earlier. But this one doesn't make me want to rush out and see it in the same way that the Belcanto and the Loco did. And I don't own either of those watches, but I really was eager to see them in person. And this, I kind of already know what it's going to be like without seeing it. It doesn't have quite the same complexity. It'll probably be nicer in the metal than it looks in photos. But with this, I mean, this isn't where I'd spend $3,000 in Christopher Ward's catalog. I'd get like 2 or 3 of the entry-level watches or just shell out a little more for a Belcanto.
Yeah. And this is what they're doing. You see, we're on their website now for those watching on the internet. This is what they're calling their Atelier collection. This is how they're distinguishing. I wonder...
Is it like Timex Atelier?
Yeah, Christopher Ward Atelier.
Well, I wonder whether the strategy here is that sometime over the next wee while, you're going to see the name Christopher Ward dropped from anything to do with this Atelier collection, and it's going to be pushed into its own thing, CW Atelier, and actually the name Christopher Ward will disappear, and this will almost become like the
Grand Ward.
The Grand Ward, yes.
Big Chris.
Big Chris. I think that's a reasonable strategy, bearing in mind that the guy Chris Ward hasn't been with the business for years. I think this might be an interesting way of them losing that name. And I guess if you were putting down a 10-year plan, you'd say, let's get the Atelier collection off the Chris Ward brand, call it whatever they're going to call it, and then 5 or 10 years later, bring the Chris Ward brand into the new brand that's been created under the Atelier collection in order to make it look like the budget versions of whatever that brand becomes, and so reverse engineer it. And so in 10 years' time, Chris Ward as a thing no longer exists. I could see that as a strategy which would make some degree of sense for them. So let's see. But
thank you. That was amused by that.
It's Chris Ward. So who knows what might happen in the next wee while with our branding.
I think they're just going to rename it to The Atelier.
The Atelier. Yeah. What else could you call it? The local. What else have they got? The 12. You could call the company 12.
There's a lot to do with Batter. David Von Batter. The Batter bracelet, the Batter light catcher. They've got a lot of terms in their vernacular. That's been expanding.
They've got other stuff they could use. So yeah, I'd put not a lot of money, but I'd put a little bit of money on that. That's where the strategy is going in 5 years' time.
I mean,
the Belcanto will not be.
A lot of the Korean automotive manufacturers, they've broken out their like flagship lines. Yes. It's still produced by Hyundai, but it's just known. The Hyundai badge isn't on it, just as Genesis. And I could kind of see that. You'd be cheapening the Belcanto to say Chris Ward on it because Chris Ward's what people think of for the $1,000 watches. So it's just Belcanto by Chris Ward.
Yeah.
Now you're getting my hopes up that Zenith will just rebrand to El Primero. That's really what I want the brand to be called.
And Panerai to just whatever the one watch that they make that anybody buys.
Oh, you want to rename Panerai?
Yeah, why not? Let's rename all the
What's
brands.
More simple than Panerai?
Yeah, fair enough. Right. Favre-Leuba. Is that how you pronounce this? I've never really been quite clear in my mind.
You can call it whatever you want.
Panerai. Right. Favre-Leuba Sea Sky Revival Review, a satisfying retro hybrid sports watch in brown. I like a brown watch, has to be said. I think brown watches are actually quite nice. What's the kind of starting price on this watch then, Ariel, after you reviewed? There was a hands-on review that you had of this one.
So I'll get to the price. It's $5,000, which is ironic because between the first time we wrote about it, which was earlier in the year, to now it went up I think $700 or $800 maybe.
Right, okay.
But that was, there was a whole tariff in there, so you can't entirely blame them. This is one of the launch collections from the relaunch Favre-Leuba. They have the Chief models. They had what was the Deep Blue Diver, which is now something Diver, and the Sea Sky. The Sea Sky is a remake of a watch from the history of the brand, or some of the brand's long history. You can see that they've been making some type of timepiece since 1737. Wow.
Yeah.
The funny thing is that Favre-Leuba themselves were like, oh, you like that one? Oh, that's just the watch to sell. Meaning it's just something to look good in stores that, they think will do well. It's kind of got a good vintage retro vibe to it, even though it is a real remake of a watch. But I was like, no, this is the one I like. And they're like, really? They were surprised I was as into it as I was. And the brown one, as you identified, has a really nice color.
Yeah.
It's kind of a little bit reddish. And, they match. And it's hard to match, actually, kind of, so it looks nice. The dial changes color a little bit in the light. So some of the pictures, it doesn't really look like a match. So it really does in person. So the dial, the brown ceramic bezel, and the strap. It's 40 millimeters wide. It's a bit on the thicker side, but I love the proportions. I just found myself really liking this watch. So if you just saw the pictures of it or read the specs on paper, you're like, what's the big deal? But, sometimes you wear a watch and it just has a satisfaction to it that really sold it for me. So I think one of the interesting contention points in the article after he published it was the price, and everyone seems like it's so high, and then they realize oh my god, these days that's not actually that high, even with the price increase given what's out there. So that goes back to the other conversation. But again, a couple of years ago we would have been like, yeah, $5,000, that's a lot. Now you're like, that's what this costs now. That's the Favre-Leuba Sea Sky Revival.
Cool. It's frightening, really, to price these things. I don't know why we got into this. Right, a hit misser maybe. 1, 2, 3, go. Hit from me. Oh, hits all round. So, Ripley, why is it a hit for you?
I like these. I've had a chance to see several of the different colorways in person. As Ariel said, they're not especially thin, but they do wear nicely. It's a chunky sport watch. It says sea and sky. They're not even committing themselves to just one of the elements.
See, Brent, so that was what you needed to do. You just needed to get all the words in.
Land, sea, sky dweller. But it's this multi-purpose chunky sports watch. There's a lot of different info and scales on it, and it sort of fits with that sort of chunkier vibe. Again, $5,000, it's a lot. You can certainly get a mechanical chronograph for less, but then again, what used to be $5,000 at the Breitling boutique, you could have a wealth of models. That does not get you much there anymore. And so for someone who wants that sporty Swiss chronograph, I think this is kind of a great alternative. They're really well done. They're nice. It's not an obvious brand too. So I feel like one of the things I like about it is it looks nice. It feels nice. Good history on the brand, despite being not continuous. But it doesn't come with any mental baggage. You know, it's not like Rolex where you say the name or someone looks at it and they're going to have opinions one way or the other. It's a little bit agnostic. It has an interesting history. You get some interesting colors like this brown one that you're not going to see. It's not just like the black blues. And then if you don't like this one in particular, a lot of their catalog, I feel very similarly about it. Might not be the best value, but it's actually quite nice when you see it. So I like this. Honestly, you can spend $5,000 in way worse ways on a chronograph. So I think these are pretty cool.
Yeah, Favre-Leuba website. It's worth a wee squiz around to see what else they do.
You need to trademark that.
Squiz around.
Yeah.
Christopher Ward's new brand, the Squiz. The Christopher Ward
Deep Raider,
Squiz.
that's what they called it. So from Deep Blue to Deep Raider.
Yeah, there we go. So
they had a whole legal battle and everything.
All right,
that's a whole other
with the film?
No, with the brand, the watch brand in the US, Deep Blue.
Oh, right. Okay. Cool. Well,
got
there
a
we
little
go.
bit pissed off.
So, Ariel, why was it a hit for you fundamentally?
I just found it very satisfying. I don't have the watch in my possession anymore, and I miss it. I wore it a lot. You know, I think that's one of the things I like about reviewing a lot of watches is I can't predict in advance. There's certain watches that I'm drawn to and then like I won't wear, and other ones where I'm like drawn to and I do wear, and ones I'm drawn to and I don't wear. And what you really learn, and I'm sure Ripley can second me on this, is you really learn what you like when you have the option to wear a bunch of stuff. And there's like 10 watches on the table. You're like, oh, I'm picking that one again. I wonder why. Is it because it's comfortable? Is it because I read this? Like, you start asking yourself these questions about it. And for me, the Sea Sky Revival ends up being very well rounded. It's very universal. It looks nice, but it's well rounded. It looks good in a lot of situations. The genericism kind of works for it. And again, the color, like the other colors they make are actually nice, but I just happen to really fall in love with that color. And I don't even think they thought I would like it as much. That's why it was funny. They're kind of surprised. They're like, oh, you're not into the Chief as much? I was like, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to insult your more distinctive shape, but I'm really into this. So anyways, that's why I liked it.
Good stuff. I like it because it's brown watch. I quite like brown watches. Right, let's move along. It's time for Ariel's favourite game, which is Watcha Like. And I mean, we didn't get... I was expecting lots of emails.
Can we review movies like we talked about? I saw Predator. I mean, come on.
Oh, is it any good?
Quick review. Generic, formulaic, really good. Watches? He touches his wrist gadget a lot. Does that count?
The exploding watch?
No, that's only the original one. They haven't done the explosion. There's other things it does.
So in honor of Jay Leno, we decided we would use his maternal hometown of Greenock. The most famous product out of Greenock is from a company called Golden Casket, which is a type of sweetie or candy, as you would call it over there, I suppose.
Didn't we do this last time?
Well, no, we discovered the website. We didn't actually, and we talked about Hoik balls and Fudgy Wudgy, but we didn't actually select a watch that went with it. So your choices today then is from Hoik balls So Hoik balls are described as buttery sweetness, minty strength, and a rugby soul, because Hoik is a place.
I have no idea what that tastes like.
Can we all agree just not to use Bremont as an answer for anything?
Listen,
Just from the start,
right, from
doesn't
the
matter
start,
how
we're
much
not allowed to use,
Bremont screams to you.
we're not allowed to use
Don't say
Bremont, we're not allowed to use Panerai, and we're not allowed to use Hublot. They're banned. Okay, so you've got to choose something which is going to be most difficult for me. So Hoik, so first of all, how would you pronounce that without me saying what it actually says? Hoik, Hawick. If it was to give you that word with no, how would you pronounce that?
Hawick, brother of John Wick.
Yes, well, it's Hoik, which is famous for rugby, which is a sport for men. Men
who hate armor.
Men who hate armor.
Who hate safety.
Yes, men who have no fear. So Hoik balls. The question is,
they're mint flavored.
Mint flavored.
They're mint flavored. Those brown, hard-looking, chestnut-looking things are mint flavored.
They're mint.
I think if a concussion was a candy, it would look like this.
Old-fashioned peppermint sweets. So buttery sweetness and minty strength. Which watch brand or watch does that make you think? The sweetness of a watch, but it's strong inside.
It's like a weird German sport watchmaker. It's like a Damasco or something. I don't know.
Buttery sweet.
No, Zin does not have. It's nothing minty about Zin. Let's be honest. Buttery maybe, sweet a little, but minty.
Minty.
What's that like dressy chrono that Zin makes? They
did have one that was minty color, but still.
What about something that's mint colored? But who makes mint color? The problem is it's going to end up being Hublot, isn't it? There's who makes a watch?
What's big but also buttery? That's a hard one.
Big, but
are they buttery or minty? I'm so confused about
what. It
says
buttery in the description.
Buttery sweetness, the sweetness of. I never really think of butter.
I never
sweet.
have butter and think to myself, boy, that's sugary.
That's sweet.
Yeah,
buttery sweetness and minty strength. So maybe
compared to the sour butter, maybe, but.
Who has really confusing press releases where you have no idea what they're talking about?
No,
that might be
Grand Seiko?
All the French brands.
Grand Seiko?
No, I know exactly what they're talking about. It's either the water or the
don't like what they're
talking about.
Okay.
Hermès.
Hermès
has the most confusing press releases.
There's a horse. So Hoik Balls has a horse as a symbol. It's Hermès.
We figured it out.
Hermès, right?
That's the one.
Sold. That's it. So, I mean, I'm hoping that if we just get Jay Leno to communicate with us, and I'm sure I can contact the guy who owns Gold Casket, who I know, and we'll get like a care package sent across. So
I need to try this. None of these three lines give me any inkling. The first two words contradict each other. Then we get into minty strength and rugby soul. Is that about the flavor?
And why do you hate people's teeth?
It's a smell of soil in your mouth as you get tackled to the ground and face planted, or you.
Does it cause internal bleeding like a good hit from rugby? Okay.
And you're just smelling the armpits and crotches of those that you're scrummaging down with. That's maybe.
Eating this candy is like feeling that.
It is like feeling that. Okay, next up, Fudgy Wudgy. Okay, smooth eating fudge bar. So smooth, chewy fudge bars crafted to the highest standards. Light, creamy, individual. Their unfairly addictive taste. I think that's the thing.
Unfairly?
I think that's what we're hanging our hat on. What is the unfairly addictive taste?
I like how they can't just
watches?
say it's an unfairly addictive taste. They have to end it by saying, and that's what makes them good, because you're clearly confused. Is this a good thing?
So it's a product it's a watch brand that has to over-explain itself. It thinks that what it does makes it good, but it then has to point that out to everybody that that's what makes it good.
MoonSwatch.
MoonSwatch, yep. It's
Rick, are these actually it's vegetarian. I guess that works for bioceramic too, but are these actually good? Have you tried a Fudgy Wudgy?
I have never tried a Fudgy Wudgy in my Fudgy Wudgy life.
So maybe this is like the Blancpain. They say they're popular, the Blancpain swatch, but I don't see many of them out in the wild in the same way I do MoonSwatches.
Yeah, and then it has to point out that it's a standout product. But I don't know, it feels more like Breggy or something. It has to say, yeah, we're really, really good. And by the way, we're the original, and that's what makes us stack. Like, it can't just let the press release.
No one's ever been addicted to buying Breguet Marines,
true,
okay? This is not a Breguet.
Yeah, okay, not a Breguet. MoonSwatch isn't a bad shout.
Gotta get another Marine.
Blancpain MoonSwatch isn't a bad shout, to be fair. So
It seems to be too bland to be like a G-Shock. G-Shock has a wild diversity. This seems to be just chocolate flavored.
The Japanese would never apologize for addictiveness, okay? Ever. Pokemon never said, sorry, we got your kids hooked, okay? Never gonna happen.
Fair enough. And then there is the Buchanan's brand, which you can see all of these various types of sweet in a bag, from mint crumbles to dark chocolate caramels and forest fruit jellies. So either this is a select one, or I think actually this is like the brand with too many SKUs. Everything looks exactly the same, but just the colour's different, which obviously led me to Grand Seiko.
Oh, you can't say Hublot Master of Sapphire series?
No, Hublot's banned from this conversation, as is Panerai and Bremen. Otherwise, everything just defaults to Hublot.
Casio G-Shock 2100 series.
Ooh,
why not?
Like that.
Why not the Remember when Nomos came out with the same watch in all those colors?
Yes, the note. That's it. That's the. You're bang on the money there. This is because the colours ever so slightly different. So like toffee centre buttermints, and then there's a peppermint cream, and it's basically the same green, but it's not.
Well, and then you also have butter toffee. Okay, yeah, this is Nomos, where it's like, do you want green and brown? How about brown and green? How about brown and light green? Yeah, this is okay. Yeah, this is that one from like Watches and Wonders 2 years ago.
Yeah, this game does have value. See, I told you. I mean,
rarely.
It takes a long time to get there, but occasionally
long time.
It has value.
Put up with it for about 17 episodes, and they'll be this 3 minutes and be like, oh.
How many have toffee in it?
Well, it's a Scottish addiction is toffee. So, yeah, they all have toffee.
I thought it was fudgy wudgies.
Well, that's also a kind of toffee, is it not? Licorice toffee, treacle toffee, that mixes your treacle and toffee. Vanilla fudge, it's kind of toffee. Yeah, dark chocolate caramels.
What naturally melts toffee? Because I don't think like whiskey does.
The human mouth.
The human mouth, okay.
Chewing it. That's hence the reason for all the bad teeth. Okay, right. So that then leads us, and seeing as you're the one doing most of the complaining, Ariel, you can choose the films for next week. We will try and link it into watches, but if you just want to review 3 films, just give us your 3 favorite films.
The best on-screen watch appearances.
Best on-screen watch.
By the way, I was just thinking this, and because last week I took my son to see Back to the Future in the movie theater, the original one.
Yes.
It's out. And I hadn't actually seen the thing all the way through in a long time. It's the kind of movie, like, once you see it, like, yeah, I know the plot, but there's a lot of amazing details, especially in the first one.
Yeah.
And for me, that is the best movie for watch lovers, because it so makes you feel positive about being obsessed with time. The characters are obsessed with watches. There's clocks everywhere. They keep mentioning time. It's just, if you need a movie validation to make you feel that this is the right hobby for you, just watch Back to the Future again. Look very carefully at all the things in the background, all the different watches of different types, even the small watches that he uses in the models of the clock tower and stuff like that. It's just all over the freaking place. Yes, I have an article on this.
Yes. Oh, it's playing volume. I need to switch the volume off. There we go.
I challenge anyone to see the original Back to the Future and be like, no, Ariel, you're wrong. This is not a great movie for watch lovers.
Okay, so Back to the Future as a movie for watch lovers.
Now? Great,
yeah,
thank you.
Well, no, you need to. We'll review the movie and the watches therein. 2 other movies.
Well, there's a sequel in the third one. So,
Back to the Future 2, Back to the Future 3.
I'm going to be very lazy.
Okay. Well, you asked for
and
it.
they'll throw the cartoon in there, and I'm sure there's going to be some remakes at some point. I mean, Ghostbusters had like 3 more movies. I mean, come on.
Okay, we will have a look at the watches of Back to the Future this time next week.
And I had to do a bunch of research for that article that I don't think published yet on that Casio calculator one.
No, it's not out. It's not out just yet, but I look forward to that. Right, let's touch on, let's see what's live on the website right now. Something we'll just have dropped. The Frederick Constant Classics Premier Review, a sensible amalgam of dress watch styles. To conclude, Ariel, tell us a little bit about this, the article that's just dropped on the website in the last few minutes.
So from a positioning standpoint, this is kind of interesting because Frederick Constant has their own in-house made movements, which they refer to as the manufacturer collection. This watch has not that. I think this watch has a illegible movement in there, so it's part of the group. It's this is Frederick Constant making a mainstream watch. Mm-hmm. It's comfortable and nice looking, but there's nothing about which is original. And I almost laugh about how unoriginal it is. The bracelet, the case, the hands, the hour markers, like it's all parts bin. And that's why I called it an amalgam, because it really is just like a mixture of things. And it ends up being satisfying. So, from a commercial perspective, this is like totally sellable, very comfortable, makes sense, isn't like wildly expensive, like looks the part. I think it's like just over $2,000. So again, for watch lovers, again, if this if the Timex is too cheap and you want to get a nicer gift, this one will satisfy. This is just sort of good for the Frederick Constant brand. And, going back to the Christopher Ward model, this is not their loco. This is not their jumping hour. This is the one that you see that Halo watch. You're like, oh, this looks sensible. I'll get that.
Cool. Ripley, your first impressions of this?
I've seen this one in person. I own a Frederick Constant. One was given to me after I graduated college by a good friend of mine, and I wore it constantly. It's a simple dress watch, and it had a very stinky strap by the time I was finished with all the national parks in it. I saw this one in person. It's quite nice. It has a couple things that just make me want to, if you just change these two things, I would think it was tangibly better. First of all, just take the Jubilee bracelet off, give that back to Rolex, and just put anything else on it. It just doesn't really jive with the rest of it, the Breguet numerals and all that. I don't like the bracelet. It's not a bad bracelet. It's not poorly constructed or anything. And for, as Ariel mentioned, going for more the mass market crowd, people want the bracelet. It makes sense. I just wish they'd done a bit more of an original design. And then the minute hand is so undersized. It's nowhere. It is just nowhere even close to the minute track. And if they had just icked it out a little bit more, I would have been a lot happier. But it's not a bad looking watch. It's as Matt said, an amalgam of a lot of different familiar styles, but they could have put those same design cues together in a much less cohesive manner. So if someone gave me this watch, I'd probably take the bracelet off and wear it quite happily on a strap.
Good stuff. Right. Well, go and check out that newly dropped article on Frederick Constant on the website. Our show is just about concluded for the day, but if you are brave enough to go to the aBlogtoWatch Weekly Live channel or the aBlogtoWatch channel and click on the live button, you might be able to catch hold of some extra time, which we will now proceed to do while we say goodbye to all you regular listeners on Spotify, Apple, or the edited version on the aBlogtoWatch YouTube channel. That sounds simple enough? That makes sense? No? Quite a lot going on there. Quite a lot of heavy lifting.
You can do it again if you want.
No, let's not do that. Let's just say goodbye. Thank you all very much for listening. We will speak to you all again in a week or so's time. Cheerio.
Bye, everyone.